What if I told you that the moment you start eating dinner straight from the can alone, in your pajamas, with the TV as your only company, might not just be a quirky habit, but a warning sign? You see, living alone in your 60s, 70s, or beyond isn't just about peace and quiet, it's about the subtle ways your world starts to shrink without you realizing. From skipping meals to forgetting what your own voice sounds like, these habits creep in slowly, until one day, you forget how to be seen. I've talked to dozens of older adults, from paddleboarders in their 80s to neighbors who haven't opened their front door in months, and their stories might surprise you. So before you laugh off your solo habits as just getting older, stick with me, because the truth in tip number 7, it might just stop you in your tracks. And if you stick around, by the time we get to tip number 7, you might just find yourself looking in the mirror differently. Number 1, avoid turning meals into a lonely afterthought. Let me tell you about my neighbor Carl. He's in his early 70s, lost his wife years ago, used to be a carpenter, built furniture that would last a lifetime, but when it came to cooking, he'd rather face a chainsaw than a frying pan. He once told me, "Why bother making a whole meal when it's just me?" So meals became an afterthought. Crackers, peanut butter, maybe some soup straight from the can cold. I walked in once and caught him spooning it right from the tin. He smiled and said, "Not bad once your tongue goes numb." We both laughed, but deep down, it hurt a little to see. Because when you stop looking forward to meals, you stop looking forward to parts of your day. Meals aren't just about calories. They're tiny moments of joy, ritual, comfort, life. One afternoon, I asked Carl to help me hang some shelves. Afterward, I made us a simple lunch: grilled cheese, tomato soup, and a cold beer. He looked down at the plate and said, "Wow, this feels like something." That's what meals should be, even if it's just you. So here's my tip. Treat your meal like it matters. Use a real plate. Sit at the table, light a candle, play your favorite music. Heck, put a cloth napkin in your lap like you're at a fancy restaurant, even if your only dinner guest is your cat. Talk to your food if you want. Tell that grilled cheese how good it looks. Because when you bring joy back to your meals, you invite joy back into your life. What's the simplest meal you've made just for yourself that still felt like joy? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Number 2, avoid letting the TV become your roommate. Now don't get me wrong, I love a good old Western as much as the next person. I've watched enough Clint Eastwood to consider buying a poncho and riding off into the sunset myself. TV can be comforting. It fills the silence, gives the room a pulse, but it can also sneak in and take up more space than it should. There was a time I had the TV on from morning to night. I told myself it was just background noise. But the truth, I was avoiding the quiet, avoiding myself, because sitting in silence meant I had to think. And I wasn't ready to do that yet. I read a comment once that stopped me in my tracks. It said, "The TV used to be entertainment. Now it's my roommate. We don't talk, but we never leave each other." Whew, that one hit home. Because when you live alone, the TV can become passive company. It doesn't challenge you, doesn't ask you to move. It just plays while time slips by unnoticed. So I made a small change. I turned TV time into a choice, not a constant. Morning routine came first: coffee, stretching, a walk, a puzzle. Then if I truly wanted to watch something, I picked it with intention. A movie I loved, a show I looked forward to. And when it was over, I turned it off. At first, the silence felt awkward, but then something lovely happened. I found myself humming more, picking up books, calling people I hadn't spoken to in years. The space that the TV used to fill, it became mine again. Living alone doesn't mean you need to drown out your thoughts. You are still the main character, not just background noise in someone else's rerun. But when I finally turned it off, what I discovered in the silence shocked me. Number 3, avoid letting your front door turn into a wall. There's a house a few doors down from me. White fence, overgrown roses. One of those porches that just begs for a rocking chair and a lemonade pitcher. It belongs to Mrs. Doy. She's 81. Lived there longer than I've been alive. After her husband passed, she stopped coming outside. First it was winter. Then it was a sore knee. Then it was just easier to stay in. Groceries got delivered. Meds came by mail. A church friend installed a key box out front. She didn't need to open the door anymore. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. She once said, "If it weren't for the mailman, I wouldn't know the world's still spinning." That broke my heart. But I get it. When the front door stays shut, it's not just about staying warm. It's about slowly sealing off the outside world. And when you do that, it starts to feel like the world doesn't need you anymore. But one morning, everything shifted. Mrs. Doy opened the front door just a crack to let in some air. Then she stepped out, barefoot, onto the porch. The sun kissed her face, a breeze lifted her hair, and a little boy pedaled by on a bike and yelled, "Hi, Miss Doy." She smiled. Now, she opens that door every morning. She doesn't always go anywhere, but she lets the day in, and so do I. Even when I've got no plans, I crack the door, greet the trees, nod at the clouds. It's a reminder I'm still here. And the world still has something for me. So don't let the door become a barrier. Let it be a bridge. Open it, even just a little. Let life find its way in. Have you ever avoided stepping outside, not because you can't, but because you just didn't? Number 4, avoid saying, "I'm too old for that." Let me tell you about Eugene. He's 78, lives in New Mexico, and last year, he took up paddleboarding. I know I laughed too. But Eugene, who calls himself creaky but curious, saw some people out on the lake gliding across the water, and something in him just lit up. He said it looked peaceful, like walking on water without needing a miracle. First time out, he fell, lost his sunglasses, swallowed half the lake, but he kept going. Why? Because he wanted to feel something new. He told me, "I'm old enough to not care what people think, and young enough to still try." That line hit me deep. See, saying "I'm too old" isn't about your body, it's about fear. Fear of looking silly, of not knowing what you're doing, of standing out. But here's the thing. Failing at something new is better than succeeding at doing nothing. You're not too old. You're just waiting to be surprised by yourself. Even if it's not paddleboarding, maybe it's watercolor, learning Spanish, taking a salsa class, or just dancing in the kitchen to your favorite tune. Don't age into avoidance. Age into adventure. Because the truth is, your bones may creak, but your spirit still sings. You'll never believe what Eugene at 78 chose to do on the water. What's something totally new you've tried after 60? Drop it below. I'm collecting ideas. Number 5, avoid turning your bedroom into your universe. Okay, confession time. I did this one. Big time. After I retired, my life slowly migrated into one corner of the house, my bedroom. First, I moved the TV in. Then came my favorite chair. Then snacks, books, the fan remote, a stack of crossword puzzles, the whole setup. My living room started gathering dust. The dining table became a display stand for my cat's naps. And before I knew it, I wasn't living in a house anymore. I was camping in one room. This is something a lot of older adults fall into without even realizing it, especially when we live alone. We stick to the room where things are within reach, where the lighting is right, the blanket is warm, and the charger's already plugged in. But here's the trap. When your world shrinks to just 4 walls, your spirit starts to shrink too. The CDC has found that social isolation and lack of physical movement can increase the risk of premature death by nearly 30% among seniors. Staying in one room all day might feel cozy, but it can quietly chip away at both mental and physical health. You begin to feel smaller, less awake, less alive. So I made a choice. Not a big one at first, just coffee in the kitchen, 5 minutes, that's all. Then I started reading in a different chair by the window. Dinner at the dining table, even if it was just soup and toast. I put on some music and folded laundry in the guest room. And little by little, I moved back in. Because here's the truth. Our homes are meant to be lived in, not just occupied. And the spaces we use shape the way we feel about our lives. So don't let your bedroom become your whole world. Make it your haven, not your headquarters. And please, keep the snacks in the kitchen. Unless we're talking Oreos. In that case, all bets are off. But once I realized I was living in one room, like a ghost in my own house, something had to change. Number 6, avoid thinking routine means boredom. Let's talk about routines for a second. They get a bad reputation. People say things like, same old routine, as if doing something familiar every day is some kind of trap. But I've learned something. Routines aren't boring. They're anchors. They keep you steady when the world feels unpredictable. Let me tell you about my Uncle Raymond. He was an old army man, tough as nails, but he had a poet's soul. Every single morning without fail for 40 years, he'd wake at 6:15. brush his teeth, make coffee, sit by the window, and watch the birds. 10 minutes, same seat, same mug. I asked him once, why the birds? He said because the world can fall apart, but I can count on the birds and the coffee. That stuck with me, because it wasn't about the birds, it was about grounding, comfort, predictability in a world that never stops shifting. I remember reading a comment from a woman who said, I wash my favorite teacup every night, even if I didn't use it, just so it's ready for tomorrow. It's my way of saying, I'll be here. That gave me chills. So don't underestimate your routines. They're not just habits, they're affirmations. A little way of saying, I'm still here. I'm still choosing to show up. And if your routine starts feeling stale, add a twist. Change your tea flavor. Write your to-do list with your non-dominant hand. Sing while you vacuum. Put a sticker on your forehead just to see if the cat notices. It's your routine. Make it yours. Got a tiny morning ritual that keeps you grounded? Share it with us, someone might need it. Number 8. Avoid becoming the invisible neighbor. There's a man on my street, Mr. Howard. Lived there for decades, brick house, green shutters, mailbox that squeaks every time you open it. And for the longest time, I didn't know a single thing about him. No one did. He kept to himself, didn't wave, didn't sit outside, didn't come to any of the block parties or neighborhood potlucks. His lights were always on, so we knew he was there, but it was like he was a ghost. Then one summer day, we had a power outage. I walked around to check on neighbors, knocked on Mr. Howard's door, just to be safe. He opened it in a bathrobe, holding a flashlight, and said, "You're the first person to knock in years." That hit me right in the heart. See, he thought we didn't want to bother him, and we thought he wanted to be left alone. So for a decade, we lived side by side, in silence. If you live alone, it's easy to fade into the background. You stop waving, stop initiating. Start thinking, I don't want to be a burden, and slowly your presence turns to a shadow. But here's the truth. Every neighborhood needs its elders. Every street needs its storytellers. You don't have to host block parties or bake cookies. A smile, a wave, a hello to the mail carrier. That's all it takes to be seen. That's all it takes to remind someone you're still here and always have been. Number 9, avoid turning memories into a museum. This one's tender. I once visited a woman named Moren. Her home, it was like walking into a time capsule. Every shelf, every wall, every corner held something from the past. Wedding photos, baby shoes, handwritten letters, yellowing with age. It was beautiful, but it felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. She showed me one room, said it had been her husband's office. She hadn't stepped inside in 2 years. His glasses still on the desk, his jacket still hanging on the chair. It looked like he might walk back in any minute, but she knew he wouldn't. She turned to me and said, "I think I made this house into a shrine instead of a home." That broke me. Because memories are sacred, but they're not meant to keep us frozen. So I asked her gently what she would do with the room if it were hers again. She paused, smiled. I'd turn it into a painting studio. I used to love watercolor. And that's what she did. Piece by piece, she let go, kept a few special things, his favorite book, a photo or two. The rest she donated or tucked away, not to erase, but to make space. Because your story doesn't end with someone else's. Keep the keepsakes, hold the love. But don't stop your life to protect the past. There's more ahead, make room for it. Number 10, avoid believing you've finished growing. Here's the biggest myth the world sells us once we hit 60. That life from here on out is just maintenance. Just keep the body going, keep the house standing, keep the meds organized, keep the fridge stocked. But growth, adventure, new beginnings, they tell us those belong to the young. I'm here to say that's nonsense. Let me introduce you to Clarence. He was 82 when he started learning French. Why? Because he wanted to surprise his daughter-in-law at Christmas by toasting her in her native language. He didn't get every word right. Some came out funny. But when he lifted his glass and said, "À votre santé," her eyes filled with tears. Then there's Eileen, 77. Picked up an iPad for the first time and started drawing silly little cartoons mostly about her cat, Leonard. She'd never touched a stylus before, but she said it made her feel like a kid with a new box of crayons. That's the thing about growth. It's not about grand gestures. It's about feeling alive in new ways. It's about curiosity, laughter, possibility. When we tell ourselves we've stopped growing, we stop looking forward. We start watching the clock instead of chasing the spark. But when we believe even a little that we're not done yet, we become walking miracles, living proof that age doesn't cap wonder. So learn something new. It doesn't have to be French. Maybe it's a recipe you've never tried, or a song you hum in a different key, or just learning how to ask a better question. Growth is yours, if you want it. You're not finished, not even close. Learning something new lately doesn't have to be big. Let us celebrate it with you. So here's the real truth, friend. Living alone does not mean living less, but it does mean we have to be more intentional. You've got to show up for yourself. Make your meals special, even if it's just toast and jam. Open your front door, even if it's just to feel the breeze. Wave to a neighbor. Smile at your reflection. Watch the birds. Wash the teacup. Don't let your world shrink without noticing. Don't let old memories block new beginnings. And please don't ever believe that you're done growing. You're still here. You're still needed. You're still capable of surprising even yourself. And that's what makes you so extraordinary. If this video gave you a nudge, made you laugh, or helped you rethink something in your own life, do me a small favor. Give it a like. And if there's someone in your world who might need to hear this too, send it their way. Because you never know who needs the reminder. And if you'd like more stories, more honest conversations, and more good company, hit that subscribe button. We're not meant to walk this path alone. Not as long as we keep showing up for ourselves and each other. Until next time, take good care. You matter, and your story isn't over yet.